Hey guys, it's been a while since I did a pump gun review. I just haven't bought any pump guns in a long time, so and I actually still haven't, although this gun has got me on a new pump gun hunt, so maybe I'll have a new gun for the show soon. This gun is borrowed to me, like I'm getting many of my guns lately, which is great because the fans love the show then, right? So this is a pump gun review on a gun that's been around for a long time. This is called a Sterling. This was originally made by, I forget what the company's name is, but then Aero Precision bought them. Aero Precision is a British company that is that also makes some blowbacks and some other stuff, but their big line of gun is called the Sterling. Sterling's been around like almost as long as the Phantom has. It's certainly not as popular of a gun as the Phantom is, but it does have other similarities involved. First thing, I love how this gun works. It works, it's a Nelson valve, essentially. So in this bottom tube here, you can see the pump handle here connects through here straight into the bottom tube. Now there's a part here I call the carrier, which functions like the bolt in a normal Nelson valve gun. And then there's a part here, the hammer, and then the valve is back right here. And this is the valve chamber back here. And the valve then, instead of exhausting through a power tube out the front, it just exhausts through the top, and it's really hard to do this. Anyway, it comes out through the top through the bolt, which is right in the top tube. The only thing in the top tube is the bolt. So in the bottom here, what happens is you have the same Nelson-style snap system where a little hook grabs the carrier. So when you push back this, you push back the carrier against the mainspring, and that clips on to the hammer, and then when you pull it forward, you pull both of those forward. Now when you pull the trigger, then the hammer flies back, hits the valve, and you go. In the top tube, then, that's actuated just by a basic, simple rod here that's attached to the pump handle that attaches to the bolt. Some people call it a stacked tube Nelson, or some people try to call it a hybrid between a Sheridan and a Nelson, but it's not. It's a Nelson valve in two tubes. And so it's also very small. Here, let me just show you another Nelson valve gun quick. So this is my Silver Phantom that you guys have seen on the show, right? The Sterling is tiny little gun compared to that. The body is about 6.5 inches long. That's it. This is, I mean, you can fit this whole gun in the palm of your hand if you want. The original ones came with, well, they came in a few different marks, but some of them have a plastic trigger frame very similar to my Sterling, or my Sovereign, but this one has a very nice metal aluminum 45 frame. They have very, very smooth pump strokes, which is the reason why lots of people love these guns. They have very smooth pump strokes. They're way nicer than most Nelson valve guns. And they also have auto trigger if you set them up properly. One of the biggest problems that these guns will typically have is this rod here on the pump threads onto the carrier. Now, depending on where that carrier is positioned in the lead on the screws, you can either get it to not pump, you can get it to pump and auto trigger, or you can get it to pump and trigger every time you pull it forward, regardless of where the trigger is. So if you're having triggering problems with your Sterling, the place to tune it in is with that carrier by advancing or retracting where the carrier is on these threads. The Sterling, there's a new version of the Sterling out now by Aero Precision that has spider threads. However, this has a very unique thread that is unique to Sterlings, which is one of the reasons why I don't think they're that popular, because it's very hard to find barrel upgrades, and as we all know, with modern paint getting so small, it's hard to find paint to fit, stockish type barrels. This has a unique threading. It's technically it's the same threads as a Raptor, but it has a very long shank, like I showed you. The shank is really, really long. This one comes in a vertical feed. Most of the pre-Aero Precision ones had a right feed. This one has a vert feed. The new ones actually have a stock glass feed or a vertical feed, which is quite cool. The new ones also can come in VSC or horizontal stock glass down here, and those, like I said before, are spider threaded. The gun is sprung really lightly, which is one of the reasons why it has such a nice pump stroke, but it's also, unlike most Nelson valves, which are really good with 12 grams, not the greatest 12-gram gun out there. Probably because of the light springs. But they do shoot really nice, really smooth pump strokes. They're just really nice guns in general. Just not as popular as some of the other pump gun alternatives, because Aero Precision has done a kind of hit or miss job supporting and popularizing their guns here in the U.S. So they're definitely very fun guns. I've owned 2 of them in my life, and this one, like I said, I'm got on loan. But they just shoot good, and nice smooth auto trigger, small, compact. Depending on your feed options and which model you get, you can convert them pretty easily there. A popular thing that people will do is put a regulator, like a female style regulator, on here, or maybe a vertical ASA with a regulator, and then tune velocity with that, because as it is, these things are pretty hard to tune the velocity. You got basically shims or spring tension, or on newer ones there's an attachment on the carrier which will tighten and loosen the mainspring. That's your velocity adjustment. So anyway, definitely a very good gun to have on the show. A worthy alternative for those of you guys who kind of like the upkeep and simplicity of a Nelson valve but want to have an open class gun with auto trigger. Definitely this would be the gun I would look for. The newer ones are much better in every way, I think. Yeah, they're just cool guns, and yeah, this show could be fitting on the old school guns tour too, but it's definitely a pump gun, and it's a pump gun you can buy today. So if you're looking for, like I said, a Nelson valve style gun, simplicity, but with vertical feed and an auto trigger and stuff like that, this is a great gun to pick. So you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later.